What question? Now, someone asked me a question about Speirs on D-Day. I, of course, walked by those prisoners and later found out that when somebody said, "Where are you guys from?" and a German said, "I'm from Portland, Oregon." I then walked back and I said, "Who said that?" And this German sergeant said he did. I said, "What do you mean you're from Portland, Oregon?" He said, "I am." I said, "What are you doing here?" I returned to Germany when Hitler called for return of all true Aryans in 1938. I asked him what he did in Portland. He said he worked for Smith Steel Company. I worked right across the street the summer I came in the Army at Monarch Forge and Machine Works. Both companies did the same type of work. I said, "What do you think of yourself now?" He said, "I think I made a mistake." Garnier was yelling at me to get the hell out of there and continue on to the east. And so I left. And after I left, why, there was an incident, supposedly, of Ronald Speirs, a lieutenant from D Company, walking up and giving these guys a cigarette, and then walking back across the road and gunning them down. I don't know that that happened, but the same thing did happen by the same individual on an attack we made into Carentan, France. And after E Company had crossed the Doubs River estuary, we were on the outskirts of Carentan, and all of a sudden we hear a lot of Tommy gun firing going on behind us, an area that we just cleared through. And so someone yelled back about what was going on, and they reported back that Ronald Speirs that some Germans came up out of the swamp and surrendered, and he supposedly then gave them all a cigarette and then gunned them down. The division investigated that after Normandy, but they couldn't get anybody to verify that he was a witness to it, and so that just went by. Later on, outside of Carentan, he killed one of his own sergeants. There wasn't any doubt about that. That was investigated by the division also, but the sergeant had, when Speirs told him to attack across an open pasture at an armored unit that was out to the front of us, and this sergeant made some remark about he should go up along a hedgerow or something. Nobody knows really what he did say, but Speirs took it as disobeying a direct order and gunned him down. Later on, they claimed that the guy had been drinking some kind of booze or something. I don't know. But I'm not a good participant on this program. I don't hear anything.
What was my favorite weapon? Well, my only weapon was an M1 Garand. That's the only one I ever used. Was that what you asked?
That was it.
Because my ears are just about like Dawn's.
This is for anybody. My question is, what was the hardest thing about coming back after the war and living as what you call a normal life? What was the hardest thing for you guys?
Well, me, it was pretty hard for me, I guess. I had to re-enlist. The kindly old judge says you can either
the hardest thing after the war?
Go to jail.
After a long time, so.
I don't, you can't blame them for being a little upset about that type of thing. But anyway, Toccoa was the master test. If you went through Toccoa, you went through the toughest that the United States Army had. And when the United States Army had a mandated test at Toccoa, and every Army unit had to go through it, and you had to do so many push-ups, so many chin-ups, so much this, so much that, so much running. And they put us through that, 2nd Battalion. They sent the report into the federal government, and the federal government had a score of our score, what it came in to them, something on over 90%. And the government rejected it. Said there's no way that an American military unit could ever achieve that kind of a score. You've done this test wrong. So they sent an examiner from Washington, D.C. down to Toccoa, Georgia, and they put us all through the whole thing again. And when the guy got through, he shook his head. He said they got a higher score. But the training we got, paid off later on, in combat and whatnot. So it was well deserved. Anyway, the last nighttime forced march we make on a Friday night was 50 miles, and no stop, no talking, no smoking, no nothing. Just put your head down and go through the Chattahoochee National Forest. It's not like you're on a freeway or anything. You're in tough country from the word go. And we had an ambulance that followed behind that picked people up that couldn't make it, got in trouble. But Toccoa was a proving ground, and it produced a magnificent regiment of the 506 Parachute Infantry. And the record of that regiment in combat verified what it was. So, anyway.